All right, welcome back to another episode of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. I'm Robert Wolf. I am an asset coach and tax strategist, founder and CEO of Terra Firma Business and Financial Consultants. And welcome. If you are a subscriber, thanks so much for coming back. We appreciate your loyalty. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that little bell, and we drop episodes every Thursday. And if you like this content, give us a thumbs up. It's very helpful in the algorithms. This channel is all about you and just kind of reading through between the lines, focusing on my book. You'll find the link down below called Economic Termites, and my other book called Farming Assets. And check those out. And really, so today's episode, this is something I've been talking about with family and friends in different conversations, and finally an article comes out that I found. Haven't read it. None of these articles that are on this channel do I pre-read. It's all clickbait. The title looks good. I'm opening it up, and let's do this for YouTube. So but here's the interesting thing. We're going to talk about the United States Postal Service. The United States Postal Service, which is a dying organization, has been dying for decades. We have propped it up with junk mail in the IRS. The IRS only communicates to you and I through the United States Postal Service. Junk mail only comes through the United States Postal Service and our email, of course. And so a lot of us, we still get some mail, right? But most of us have gone to electronic mail and text messages and notifications and emails and blah, 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 right? And the Postal Service, the problem is it's a government agency. And what's really hurting it is lack of revenue and high costs. And that's the downfall to every household and every business that has high costs, low income. The costs exceed the income. It's dead, dying, broke, all capital letters, broke. The United States Postal Service has been broke for decades, and we have propped it up. So let's go through and see why it's broke, why it has been broke, why it will always be broke, unless there's a change. And here's my change, my suggestion. The United States Postal Service has a location in pretty much every city in the United States. What company delivers to pretty much every city in the United States? That's right. Oh, no. Not FedEx, not UPS. They probably do. Something that's much more recognizable and more consistent on a daily basis. You're right. Amazon. I believe Amazon's large enough and has enough infrastructure that you and I, whatever mail we receive, they can have a division of deliverable mail. Sell all the real estate that the United States Postal Service has. Sell all of it. Every piece of property. Take all of that money to fund the pensions that are owed to those that work at the United States Postal Service. Sell all of the vehicles, all of the trucks. You can't sell them. Who are you going to sell them to? They're made for the United States Postal Service. So who could take them over? Maybe Amazon. But if Amazon's already so efficient and they're delivering in your neighborhood daily, who's to say they couldn't do that daily too? They're already in the neighborhoods. Makes sense. You wouldn't have pensions anymore. They're not government employees anymore. So every government employee within the United States Postal Service gets a credit for their pension and their service. They go get a job at Amazon. And that's that. And they could be guaranteed a 2 or 3 year job at Amazon. So if they want to look for a new job, they could. Or if they're completely content and happy where they're at, they could be. So that solves the issue. You would still have to pay for your mail to be mailed. That all be processed through Amazon. You see what I'm getting here? It's just such a perfect fit. Bezos and Amazon has created this fit that is ideal. Let me share my screen and let's dive into this article and talk about the $400 billion post office conundrum. Who's going to be left holding? And this is for Axios.com. This is the website, Axios.com. Okay, so who's going to be left holding the $400 billion bag? That's the ultimate question that undergirds the debate over the future of the post office. Why it matters. The U.S. Postal Service suffers under a system of pension obligations that is at no private company and in no other government department. But there's also historically been and no appetite in Congress to fix this long-standing problem. Of course there hasn't. Ignore it. Leave it alone. Just give them some money and just fine, whatever. Just go and just absorb it and ignore it. But there's a solution that's been there for a decade already and called Amazon. I've been saying this for a decade, that Amazon should do this. Let's look at this. Driving the news. The White House on Friday denies the Washington Post report that President Trump intends to dissolve the United States Postal Service board and take control of the post office. But Trump did say that he wanted some kind of Commerce Department merger that would ensure the agency doesn't lose massive amounts of money. Well, that's already happened, and it has been happening. It has been happening. Okay. Per a comprehensive report that was released last year by the United States Postal Service Inspector General, the Post Office ended fiscal year 2022 with pension and healthcare liabilities of $409 billion against assets of $290 billion. All right, hang on a second. Math time. 290 of revenue minus 409 of expenses. Okay, that's a negative 100. I got to write this. We got to see this. You got to see this, okay? Ready? There's our dollar sign. $119 billion loss. Loss. Holy cow. If there's anything that Doge can do is eliminate this. Are you kidding me? And like I said, there is government real estate in every city across the country that can be sold, and those monies could be there to fund just this. Just this. All that money can go in there. Leave it in there and fund it. If anything, put all that money into freaking Bitcoin as the reserve, and that's how we pay the pension dollars. So anyways, there's a solution that is there that nobody has looked at, and that's what we need. $119 billion. That was 22. 2 years have passed since then. You think that went down? You think all of a sudden the United States Postal Service went from 290 billion in assets to 400 billion in assets? No. Now, I will say in some of the major cities where I have seen post offices, there's a lot of land there. Why? Because they have a lot of vehicles and they need a parking space for the vehicles. They need warehouse to sort the mail, but a lot of these buildings are 40, 50 years old. So the buildings are larger and bigger than the amount of mail that's coming through the system now. So you could have in Amazon warehouses a section for this day-to-day mail and done. Well, what about junk mail? Well, what about junk mail? If you want to send out junk mail, you pay Amazon their junk mail service delivery fee, and it gets sent. It's marketing. Junk mail is marketing. There's a cost to marketing. So you can hire somebody to canvass neighborhoods to drop off these flyers at people's houses, or you can pay Amazon the junk mail fee, the marketing fee costs. It's a monthly subscription, and they'll deliver all this junk mail for you, up to however many pieces of junk mail a month. Seems pretty logical to me. Really does. Creates an ongoing cash flow. It pays for people who are already on site, already in the neighborhood. It's marketing. So if you want to market this way, you market this way. As a business, we've got to figure out how to market our business to generate revenue. Not me as a taxpayer paying for it. That's what's happening. This negative $119 billion is you and I as taxpayers paying for people's junk mail marketing to keep the postal service up. So when you're in major cities, like I grew up in the city of Orange in Southern California, we had a post office, which is on Tustin Avenue. It's a huge lot. It's probably on at least 2-3 acres, right in the middle of the city, commercial. I mean, the way the city's building up in that city and all major cities, a developer could easily buy that and build mixed-use apartments, repurpose that whole property, and that money goes right into this bucket. Makes logical sense to me. Retirement costs alone make up 12% of the total costs. But the post office has no control over where that money goes, how it's invested, or how it's distributed. Who does? Who does? By the numbers, the post office has more than 700,000 retirees and survivors collecting benefits. That's a lot. And employs more than 500,000 people who will collect pensions in the future. Wow. That's a lot. That's a big liability for a business model that doesn't exist anymore. Again, sell it, use the assets to pour into, to pay for this, and then have a system that charges these 500,000 people that are employed. Do they have jobs that could fit at Amazon? I'm sure. Amazon's always looking for people. Well, I don't want to work there. Great, that's your choice. Just like any business. When a business is sold or merges with another business, every single person affected by that as an employee has a choice to stay or leave. Well, you can't. Why can't we do that? 119 billion loss in 22. Let's just say, for shits and giggles, 22, 23, 24. So for 3 years, that's $357 billion loss. And I guarantee you, each of those assets, especially in major cities, like I just said, in Orange in Southern California, that asset, that piece of land has increased in value, but it's sitting there as dormant asset. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. It's larger than it needs to be. I'm in North Texas right now, down the street in McKinney where my office is. There's a postal service. It almost looks just like the postal office in Orange. I don't know. Just seems logical to me. Seems logical to me. The agency pays $10 billion a year into federal pension programs that it doesn't control. That money is invested extremely conservatively with 100% allocation in treasury bonds. Okay. So if you remember a few episodes ago, I talked about who owns U.S. debt, right? Because we made this big ordeal of the nation's debt, it's spiraling. And we all think as consumers that China's holding the bag, right? They've got their foot on our neck and saying, pay your bills. No. 100% of the pension money, $10 billion, the The agency pays $10 billion per year in federal pension programs. 100% of it is allocated in treasury bonds, U.S. debt. As a result, the funds actually lost money in real terms, both in 21 and 22 fiscal years. Let that sink in. I'm going to take a drink and let that sink in. Let me repeat that. As a result, the funds actually lost money in real terms in both the 2021 and 2022 fiscal years. According to the Inspector General report, the $155 billion deficit in the Postal Service retirement funds. So even though they're putting $10 billion in there, they've lost money. They don't know how much because they're not controlling it, but there's a deficit of $155 billion. So not only is the Postal Service losing $119 billion, they're at a deficit just in the retirement funds of $155 billion. And would have been $963 billion surplus if that money had been invested in standard portfolio of 60-40 split with stocks and bonds since inception. So yeah, we're talking a long time ago. The intrigue. Our federal agencies receive money from Congress to make required employer contributions. The post office doesn't. Private pension plans and even some government plans, including the National Railroad Retirement Investment Trust and the Retirement System for Tennessee Valley Authority, are allowed to invest their money in stocks and other assets that provide higher long-term returns than treasury bonds. The postal office isn't. So the bottom line, more than 1 million workers have some kind of post office pension. Who's going to pay them that money, and where's that money going to come from? Shoot. I have a solution. Hey, I have a solution. Go look at my one of my other episodes. I talked about the 10 largest companies in the United States. Okay, the 10 largest. Amazon's in there, and Berkshire Hathaway. You could easily take all of that money and create a Berkshire Hathaway fund. Work a deal with Berkshire Hathaway, a Class C share, maybe. They have an A and a B, maybe a Class C share. And Berkshire Hathaway is already a diversified conglomerate with insurance, manufacturing, services, railroad, energy. They've outperformed the S&P 500 by double. S&P 500 has done about 10, 11%. Berkshire has done about 20, 21, 22%. Over that same period. It's diversified, and it performs way better than the S&P 500. I don't know. Just some thoughts, right? Maybe the 60%, 40%. Bottom line, solutions. Solutions are there. People just ignored it. And now that the numbers are coming out, this is not acceptable because you and I as taxpayers, it's a government agency. You and I as taxpayers support this. Not acceptable for me to get junk mail that I literally hand and put in the trash. Most of it I don't even look at. And most of the time I get an IRS letter, it's them telling me my address changed when it's been the same. So I don't know. What are we paying for? Just some thoughts. Hey, if you like this content, a little lighter, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thanks so much for joining us. See you in the next episode.